Welcome to Silver Creek School Corporation's Board of Finance meeting, Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. Call to order. We'd like to request to approve the January 8th, 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
Also move.
Mr. Basham motions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And then we do have, because Chris Roundtree is virtual, we will have to vote individually. So, Mr. Roundtree. At the meeting.
Oh, he's typing. Is he typing?
Yes, it's live. They can hear you, sir, so he's got to speak.
Go ahead, Chris, if you can hear us.
Right, what am I speaking to? I couldn't hear anything Scott said.
Request to approve the January 8th, 2021 minutes. Which need your approval. Request to approve the minutes. Your vote?
Yes.
Ms. Franklin,
Yes.
Mr. Basham,
Yes.
and Ms. Ms. Orberg, or Ms.
Yes.
Bright.
Right.
Ms. Bright, I got you. All right, so 5-0. Now we're going to move to the election of officers. Do I have a nomination for approval for president?
I'll nominate Joe Basham. for
I have
president.
Joe Basham. Do I have any other nominations? Do I have a second for Mr. Basham?
I'll second.
Ms. Bright seconds and votes. Mr. Roundtree,
Yay.
Ms. Franklin,
Yay.
Mr. Basham,
Yay.
and Ms. Bright.
Yay.
And I'm also a yay. Now we're going to move to the secretary. Do I have a nomination for approval for secretary?
I'll nominate Chrissy Frank.
Okay. And do I have a second?
A second.
Ms. Bright seconds. And Mr. Roundtree, your vote, sir?
Yay.
Ms. Franklin?
Yeah. Yes. Did I vote for myself? Or should you abstain from that?
No,
Yes.
It's fine.
he's still approving himself.
Yeah.
Mr. Basham
Yes.
and Mrs. Bright.
Yes.
And then I am also a yay. It passes 5-0. And for the report, we're going to turn over to Mr. Ballmer.
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Finance meeting. Quickly, it is Indiana code that this time of the year we go over the financial state of our school district. And so while it says to give a written report, I thought a presentation might be a little more friendly for the board and for this wonderful audience out here tonight. So we'll start with our investment policy, Silver Creek School Corporation's investment policy for investing income, which is policy number 6144. That provides the guidelines for investing money. That investment policy is required to be reviewed at the Board of Finance. So I have given every board member that policy as written. It's also available on our website along with all our board policies through Neola. So that can be accessed online. At this time, I would not recommend any changes to that policy. So your investment report. So currently Silver Creek School Corporation funds are deposited at a German American checking account, and it's an interest-bearing checking account. The interest earned on that money is receipted into a couple of funds. So in 2021, we receipted into operations 0300 $15,665.18. And into our self-insurance fund, Fund 1100, $692.79, for a total interest earning in 2021 of $16,357.97. So part of this presentation, or part of the requirement by Indiana Code, is that the school corporation must annually submit a written report to our Board of Finance. And essentially, this requirement came along around 2019. What had happened is a couple of corporations within the state went bankrupt. And DUAB, which is your Distressed Unit Appeals Board, basically, in the words of Jerry Maguire, said, from this point on, show me the money. And that what they basically said, not again, and that there will be fiscal oversight, and that once a year you will report to your school board the financial condition of a school corporation. And the fiscal indicators that they look at is what they consider to give a true snapshot or to give an overview of how the corporation is doing financially. Some things that you must report on are your average daily membership, or ADM, your fund balances, your annual deficit surplus, fund balances as percent of expenditures, revenue by type, and your operating referendum revenue as a percent of total revenue. And all this can be found for any school in the state of Indiana on DUAB's website. So starting with demographics, this is something that DUAB does show. So we'll go on 2021, our free and reduced population, 26.15%. Special education was 14.65%. And ELL, or English language learners, was 5.36%. As we head into our financial data, I just do want to put a little disclaimer in that the majority of the financial data that DUAB reported was for 2020. As you're well aware, Silver Creek School Corporation was only in existence 6 months for 2020, which is a very unique situation for DUAB. And while I do think they did a pretty good job at reflecting only 6 months worth of data, there are some things that I'm not sure they got 100% right. I pulled some data for 2021 to try to compare as much as possible. But again, until we have a full year of DUAB's information, we'll just kind of have to wait on that to be 100% accurate. But I'll kind of allude to a few of those things as we go through the presentation. So let's talk about our ADM 2020. We were 2,790 students, and in 2021, we were at 2,934 with an increase of 144. ADM is how many students that's attending your corporation, and why that is so important is because your education fund, which is one of your main funds there, the education operation, is driven by your basic tuition support, which is how much money you get per student. And so a corporation that is growing obviously is getting more money coming in because they're growing. And if you're losing students, the opposite, you're going to be losing funding because education, while there are a couple other income sources or revenue sources besides the basic tuition grant, most of it is solely funded through that. And so therefore ADM is very important for a school corporation. We're up 144 kids. We hope that we can continue to grow, but once again, that's something you want to monitor very closely. Year-end fund balances, mainly just going to focus here on our education and operation. For 2020, you can see in education, we were about 4.6 million. In 21, we were 6.4. That's inflated 1.4. The reason being, at the end of 2021, we still had 1.4 million to reconcile for the 1300 fund, which will be done in January this year. As we're speaking. So again, that's more like a 5 million. 2020 operations fund, 1.3 million in 2020 as an ending balance. In 21, 4.5 million. And we did not establish a rainy day fund into 2021, and that's currently sitting at $625,908 and some change. Your annual deficit surplus, and this is one that I think DUAB may potentially be off, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. But right now in 2020, they're showing, which is a good thing, a surplus, basically all revenue around 18.4, all expenditures around 10, showing an $8 million surplus. When I look at 2021, I'm seeing more of a $4 million from what I pulled from reports. So I do believe we're off a little bit there. Again, when DUAB gives us our full 2021 information, we'll have more insight into that. But I do think that's one that DUAB may have been a little bit off, and that's due to that 6-month change in what expenditures are versus fund balances. Fund balances as percent of operation expenditures. So what this is looking at is, if you look at your total operating expenditures for 2020, DUAB is saying that's at 14.1 million with a total ending balance of your fund balance, or what you want to say your cash balance, at 6 million. So that fund balance is about 42% of what they're saying your total expenditures are. And why that's important is if there is, if for some reason you start losing revenue or things happen, what is your cash balance and how long can you support yourself? This is very much like an emergency fund, right? How long, if income slows down, if something goes, are you in good shape to continue to operate? And this indicator shows that we have a fund balance about 42% of our operating expenditures around 5 months. Again, I'm would like to see 2021 and what they say there to really have a full year's worth of data. Revenue by type. So again, you'll see that 2020 is showing 6 months, 21 showing a year. Again, we're kind of just focusing on the education operation. So in 2020 for 6 months, about 10.3. In 2021 for the full year, 20.7. Operations fund for 6 months in 2020, 4.1. And in 2021, 7.1 for a full year. And your debt, obviously we got to pay our debt depending on what we have in bonds and other things, common school loans and those types of things. So going to your 1782 report data. So your 1782 report is really the approved budget through your DLGF. And while this isn't an important a requirement of the Board of Finance, I just wanted to kind of point out a few things that I think is pretty important for our district. One, if you'll notice, AV in 21, and this is a 21 to 22 comparison for your budget, what was approved by DLGF. So you'll see an AV increase there from about 854 million to about 925, which is around 8%. Tax rate, obviously, we did when we issued that debt raise. Basically, there was not a tax increase. We just leveled our tax rate back out there, but that just shows that we did level that tax rate back out. Your appropriation in education did go up about 10.13%. Again, we're growing in ADM. So you'll see an increase there. The same with operation. And one thing to note is that the school pension debt did fall off in 2022. An additional appropriation. So we had to do this at the end of December. We'll have to do 3 this year. And I'll kind of run you through each one of those and why we need to do those. This does not have to be done till December. We will plan to do that before because you do have to advertise for an additional appropriation. But in the education fund, the reason that's going to be required is what I alluded to earlier. We still have 1.4 million to reconcile out of the 1,300. I'm not sure exactly what we will need as far as if we'll need the full 1.4 or not. We'll have to get a good grip on what our expenditures look like probably at least halfway through the year. And once we feel like we have a very solid grip on that, we'll pick the appropriate appropriation to make sure we can cover the rest of the year's expenses and ask for DLGF to approve that. The debt service fund, essentially what happened there when we issued our 2021 bond, it was predicted that the first payment would be $505,000. There's a typo there, sorry about that, but $505,000. The first payment actually ended up being $520,000, which is a difference of $15,000. So the appropriation was only for $505,000. So again, in that debt service, we'll ask for a $15,000 appropriation to cover the actual amount. And in your debt payment, there was an error in amortization schedule when it was entered. I'm not sure when that was entered before my time, but there was an error that threw it off about $400. And so those three, we'll lump those together so we only have to advertise once, and we'll go through that additional appropriation process. Oh, so some things to keep in mind. While there's definitely some good news and it feels like maybe things are smooth sailing within the world of finance, school finance. One thing I just want to really keep in mind here is the lack of historical data. We've only been in existence here for about a year and a half. DUAB is only reporting for 6 months of 2020, so we really need to be mindful that things can change. Unknown funding changes, such as ADM, increases or decreases can make a big difference in your education fund. AV, property values make a huge difference. State tuition support, while we've seen an increase in state tuition support, there's never any guarantees that it will stay that way. So we need to continue to be fiscally responsible, scrutinize expenditures, and prioritize spending where it counts. And that's in our classrooms with our teachers, equipping them and our students with what they need, creating safe learning environments, and focusing on them. And always preparing for when things could possibly go bad there. And that's the goals. We always want to be prepared for when things could possibly not go our way. So thank you for your attention. And is there any questions from the board? I'll try to answer.
So, our money currently right now is at German Bank.
Yep.
So, how is that decided where we invest our money and when is it decided? Is it decided annually, kind of more competitive based upon what interest rates we can get? Are we able to diversify our funds?
The answer to that is yes. So I'm actually working on a cash balance report. So the key to investing your funds is knowing what is it you really need to have on hand at any given time to make sure you can cover all your expenditures. And that's something I'm actually working on and working in partnership with Matt Reese. And once you can identify what it is that essentially your leftover amount that you can comfortably continue to cover your expenditures, whether it be 1 million or 2 million, then you can shop for CDs. You can determine how long of a CD you want, and we will be doing that. As you can see, 16,000 on your investment is actually a pretty good return based on what we have. I mean, we're getting a very good rate at our current checking account. But yes, you can also always shop checking accounts as well for interest-bearing checking accounts. It's a very tough transition when you decide to switch, so you want to be
But we've
mindful.
switched recently, right? Within
Right.
the last year or
And-
so.
and-
Does that go by a bidding process?
I don't know. I was not involved in that. My guess is they would have went out and shopped different banks. Again, I'm speculating that they would have shopped and who gave them the best interest rate, but I don't know. I wasn't involved in that
We had,
process.
Christie, about 3 banks approach us about our funds.
Okay.
And
Is that
it-
just
and-
for the
and-
rainy day fund or is that for just our accounts in general?
Counts.
Okay.
And they were quite a bit better than a couple that approached us.
So do we look at that every year annually, or is that something that once we kind of determine that's where we're at, we stay there? Do we ever,
That was the first time it'd come up with us in a few years.
There's nothing that says you have to do it annually.
Okay.
You can do it anytime you feel like
Feel like
you might be able to get a better.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
That's the only question I have.
And I'm sorry, can you turn that back on? I was gonna see if you could go back a few slides. I had a question.
What slide?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, we have to open our budget back up and ask to be able to pay these correctly, because it's different than what we approved in the past. These are additional amounts.
Correct. So the DLGF approves. So if we go to the 1782, sorry, wrong one. So if you go to the 1782, you can see that this year the DLGF has approved us for 17. Now, when I say approved, this is what we're allowed to spend. Not necessarily meant that we have to spend it all. But according to what I'm seeing with our current expenditures and just with increase in salaries, with staffing, things like that, there's a chance we would exceed that if we're paying the additional 1.4 million to reconcile that 1,300. All along,
Is that from the split?
that's from the split. That's the
And we had
special
that
education.
common account that we had to
Right.
reconcile.
Correct. Borden and Hennerville, we've invoiced them for their part, and we should be getting that check any day. I think I'm actually coming tomorrow from what correspondence, so we'll have that to reconcile their part. We've already paid 1.2 million. We did that in December. We owed right at don't quote me, I was right on 2.7, 2.8 million. I could give you the exact if you wanted. It's actually been shared a few times.
Yeah.
But that was to reconcile the joint services, which we knew for a long time we were going to have to do, is reconcile that 1,300 fund.
And then can you go back, because there were 3 things that we had to reconcile, it looks like.
Yep.
Second was a payment.
And then the debt services fund,
Right. So
were we not expecting that?
No, what happened there was, and I wasn't here, it wasn't my tenure when this happened, but when they set up, when the 2021 bond was set up, when whoever entered whatever information, they entered that the first payment would be 505,000 for that debt service payment to the 2021 bond. It was actually, I guess, I don't know how it's exactly, but it became up to 520 for the first payment, which is 15,000 off. But we were only appropriated to pay the 505 because that's what it was estimated at. So we'll need the additional 15,000 to cover the actual payment.
Oh, and I see that now, the 15,000. When I immediately looked at it, I thought it was the whole amount.
No.
So,
No, you're fine.
okay. That's all I had for that.
Anything else?
Just want to tell you, thank you for a great detailed report. Appreciate that. And I actually kind of like the memes too. It kind of kept it fresh.
All right. I was a little worried about doing
Kept
that,
us
but
awake.
I figured the Board of Finance we could spice up a little bit.
All right, with that being said, we can call for an adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I'll
I-
make that motion.
Ms. Franklin makes a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Ms. Bright, second. And Mr. Roundtree,
Yay.
Ms. Franklin,
Yay.
Mr. Basham,
Yeah.
and Ms. Bright.
Yes.
And I'm also yes. Meeting's adjourned.
And then we'll have our regular meeting.
Yep. Go right into it.
You want to get closer? Don't you?
Am I too close?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I'd rather you eat it.
I think I'm eating it. All right.
Snow cone action.
Did it make you laugh?
Do you want to do the
Look, I
notification?
had my mask on.
But behind the fear.
Yeah.
Or Joe, do you want to do the notification?
You're like, I'm getting some emails on this.
Either one of you want to do the notification?
Invocation.
But someone speaks for us.
I'm worn out from my
ahead.
secretary duties. Taking all those notes.
Is that far enough planning? Or Alex, are you about ready? Okay. All right, Silver Creek School Corporation School Board meeting Tuesday, January 25th at 6:52. Today we'd like to have a call to order, and Pledge of Allegiance is going to be led by Ms. Bright, followed by an invocation by Mr. Ballmer.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for all you've given our corporation. We thank you for our staff, our students, just a wonderful faculty that's committed to helping students each and every day. We ask that you'll just be with those that are sick. We know that the spread of COVID has impacted our corporation greatly, but mainly we just pray for the health of all those that have been impacted. We ask that you'll just continue to watch over our school district, help us to make the right decisions under some very difficult circumstances. We thank you for a public and for parents and for guardians who support us, even though it sometimes puts more on their plate. We're appreciative of their support. We ask that you'll guide us tonight to make the right decisions for our corporation. We thank you for all that you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, we're going to do a little roll call. Mr. Basham,
Here.
Ms. Bright,
Here.
Ms. Franklin,
Present.
and Mr. Roundtree,
Present.
and I'm also present. D, we're going to add for emergency additions.
Yes, good evening. So yeah, opening items, number 1, letter D, we've added for emergency additions. We have 3 additions I would ask the board to please approve. Under consent agenda number 7, Roman numeral 8, approval of the following donations. We're adding Save a Step Food Mart, who's made a donation to the Silver Creek High School Athletic Department in the amount of $487.40. Under C, personnel, under certified positions, under certified appointments, Roman numeral number 2, we have Hannah Oliver, Silver Creek High School Dean of Students, posting number 1106 with a tentative start date of February 2nd, 2022. And the final addition is the last page of the agenda, number 11, our next meeting dates. Please add January 27th, 2022 with an executive session at 7 p.m. That is it for emergency additions.
Okay. The approval of minutes, January 11, 2022, executive.
You need to approve.
Oh, yeah, can we go ahead and approve the emergency addition?
I so move.
I'll second.
That's right. Ms. Franklin, seconds. Mr. Roundtree, how do you vote?
Yay.
Ms. Franklin?
Yay.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Bright?
Yes.
And I'm also yes. Approval 5-0. Moving on to approval of minutes in January 11, 2022 executive session. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Mr. Basham makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Ms. Bright seconds. And Mr. Roundtree, how do you vote, sir?
Yay.
Yay.
Ms. Frank- Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Bright?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. Passes 5-0. January 11, 2022 regular board meeting approval. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Ms. Bright makes the motion. Do I
I'll
have a second?
second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. And Mr. Roundtree, how do you vote, sir?
Yay.
Ms. Franklin?
Yay.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Bright?
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. That's 5-0. And we'll move on to student and staff recognition.
Okay, good evening again. So presentation, just a brief update about our COVID plan. As the board knows, and as our staff and our families were shared with, I believe this past Sunday, we received new guidance from the Department of Health. And really tonight is just to give the board opportunity if they want to make comment or ask questions, but also those who are listening online, just to keep everybody informed. The changes would include that parents will only be contacted if their student has a need to quarantine. We will not be contacting for monitoring purposes only. Second, our dashboard has been changed. It will now show the number of positive cases per grade level. And we will, just a note to everyone, we will continue to try and keep our kids and staff in school so long as we have the appropriate staff to safely operate our buildings. So any questions, you can reach out to an administrator, building level administrator, district level administrator, also any individual on our health team. On our website under COVID-19 updates, the information about our dashboard is there, as well as our protocols that we're currently following. As far as recognizing staff, I know last time 2 weeks ago, I recognized everyone. And while everyone continues to need to be recognized, I especially want to point out our health team. They're the ones who are at the right in the thick of it, contact tracing, contacting families, contacting staff. And so just a shout out to them. Thank you. I'll field any questions. If anyone has any questions.
My question.
Okay.
On to the curriculum and student services.
Okay, Mrs. Hawkins is unable to be here this evening, so I will stand in for her. Silver Creek Spotlights. Silver Creek Primary would like to celebrate one of our kindergarten teachers, Mrs. Cheryl Jackson. Mrs. Jackson has been teaching for many years, and she uses these years of experience and expertise to support her grade level team. Cheryl is always willing to grow and change, and we appreciate her willingness to support her students in any way possible. Thank you, Cheryl, for all you do. Silver Creek Elementary School would like to recognize Miss Jamie Cook for her outstanding work leading our Silver Creek Elementary special education team. She has helped mentor a new special education teacher on an emergency permit. She makes daily changes to our support staff schedule to make sure our students have coverage as assistants were out, and she supports additional special ed staff while they have been out on extended leave. She does an amazing job with our students, teachers, and assistants. Thank you, Jamie, for all of your hard work. Silver Creek Middle School would like to thank the entire Silver Creek Middle School staff for helping cover classes and helping support each other when there have been staffing issues over the last couple of weeks. It continues to be a collective effort from all to provide a safe and positive learning environment. And lastly, from Silver Creek High School would like to celebrate Seth Sheffield. Mr. Sheffield recently took a group of students to Indiana Wesleyan to compete in the Thespy competitions during the Indiana State Thespian Conference. Elliot Hammond, a junior, received callbacks from 5 different colleges after her college audition. Malia Haynes, a senior, Jess Bergstam, a senior, Skylar McDaniel, a junior, and Caitlin Litch, a junior, all received superior ratings, which enabled these students to participate at nationals. Thanks to Mr. Sheffield for his time and dedication to make this opportunity available to our theater students. Congratulations to Mr. Sheffield and students. I will add to Mrs. Hawkins's spotlights that, to say our staffing has been sporadic has been an understatement. Fortunately, we've only had to close briefly. And again, it's a testament to everyone being creative, flexible, but also prioritizing the safety of our students and their education. Board updates for Mrs. Hawkins. Administrators have been working with their staff and leadership teams to determine a plan to revise pacing guides during the spring 2022 semester. Teachers will be spending time revising pacing guides with their horizontal grade level subject area teachers, but will also have time to work with vertical teaching peers to help strengthen transitional concerns between grade levels. We are excited to provide our teachers with time to complete this essential task and look forward to the important revisions, teacher growth, and professional conversations regarding student skills essential for each grade level. And lastly, the Social Studies Textbook Adoption Committee, a group of teachers will begin reviewing textbooks in February and are looking for several parents to help us with selection. So again, the Social Studies Textbook Adoption Committee looking for several parents to help us in selecting these materials. If you are interested, please contact your child's principal or Mrs. Hawkins at the administrative office. And that is the curriculum and student services update from Mrs. Hawkins.
Anybody have any questions? All right, moving right along to finance and operations for Mr. Ballmer.
First of all, just to make you all aware, anytime there are 2 board meetings in a month, the financial reports and docket and all that will be up the ladder, and that just ensures that we get all our bills paid in time and have time to process everything. So that's why it will be after the second one. So your monthly financial report for December and ending in 2021. So we'll start with the education fund. Beginning balance for 2021, $4,602,777.28. When we look at just December, what we receipted in, $1,951,211.30. Expenditures in December, $2,539,780.84. You'll note that's much higher than normal. There were 3 pay periods in December, which is always going to increase those expenditures quite significantly since the majority of our spending is in salaries. There was also some raises factored in for December as well. So year to date for our education fund, so for all of 2021, since it's factored in all 12 months, that is receipted in $20,726,447.83. Our expenditures out of the education fund for the year, $15,056,375.92, with an ending balance of $6,449,254. Again, that is inflated $1.4 million because we still need to reconcile the 1,300 fund, which we are doing in January. Operations fund, again, beginning balance for 2021, $1,353,306.92. Receipted in December, $1,584,224.38. We did get our December settlement, which is our property taxes, which is, you get those twice a year, and that's mainly what funds your operation fund. Expenditures out of the operation fund for December, $788,512.20. And so for the 2021, what we received in the operation fund, $7,144,847.38. For the year expenditures, $6,628,319.59, and an ending balance in your operation fund of $4,529,861.97. A couple things on operations real quick. First of all, I want to give a shout out to our technology crew in December. They took on getting our corporation up to speed for cybersecurity with multi-factor authentication, which was a pretty big undertaking for them. And the reason that is so important is we're shopping cybersecurity insurance, which is a hot topic right now. And this was a huge part of making sure that was in place to get competitive rates. So Jerry and your crew, thank you so much for doing that. Quick update on the high school. We did have a pipe bust, as you're all aware. Our restoration company has completely mitigated all the water. We have replaced the carpet in those rooms that needed to be replaced based on just the age, and there was no way we could remove all the water. There was no way to remove the smell, no matter what was to be done. We were going to need to replace the carpet, so it was recommended that we go ahead and replace that. So we did get that replaced. The air quality testing, which we did get a separate vendor, just to ensure no conflict of interest there. We got a separate entity to come in and do our air quality testing. We're expecting those results any day. As soon as we get the green light that those rooms are safe, we'll get the students and staff back in there. And that's all for finances and operations. Any questions?
No, thank you for acting promptly on that too. It's really good.
And being thorough.
Thank you, Jerry, too. At this time, we have community input. As of now, we have 0 But we do ask, and we will ask if anybody would like to come, please speak. If hearing none, then we will move forward.
Okay, consent agenda. Number 7, we have letter A, finances, numbers 1 through 4, and then numbers 6 through 8. Under C, personnel, we have letter A and 1 and 2. Under number 2, classified positions, we have letter B and number 1. Number 4, we have ECAs, we have A, B, and C. Letter D, technology, number 1, and letter E, other, we have letter I, or I'm sorry, number 1. The second reading and approval of the following policies, A through Z, and then double A through double J. I will make note on letter C, policy 1520, one addition, employment of administrators in addition to the superintendent. Administrators in addition to the superintendent would include the assistant superintendents, principals, assistant principals, and special education director. Letter H talks about the contract between the board and an assistant superintendent, principal, or assistant principal. We also need to add or the special education director to letter H, just to be consistent with the intent of the policy. And that is it for consent agenda.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, can we do discussion on this?
Yep.
Okay.
Do
So
you make a motion
on, we have to
You
make,
have to?
I think, do you make someone make a motion
feel like we
first and
need
then you
to.
discuss?
yeah,
Okay, that's fine. Then we can make a motion to discuss this. To have a motion to discuss the consent agenda.
I so move.
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Franklin seconds. And we'll vote. Mr. Roundtree?
Discussion.
Yeah.
No,
Yay.
You gotta,
Okay, I think we will discuss before we
I
vote.
feel like we were missing something.
Yeah,
yeah.
so they made 2 motions. Now before you vote, if there's discussion.
Then we vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So on page 10 of the policies that you gave us in the PDF, the one on the open meeting, regarding like the minutes and such, I noticed with the revision that it's not stating for us to document votes taken. And then also recently, we've been adding a summary of comments. And I'm wondering if we can continue with those 2 things.
Yeah, can you give me a policy number?
Sure, 0168.1, open meeting.
Okay, and which part of it, please?
So when I read over, I didn't see where we're indicating, noting votes taken on minutes. And then also, we've been recently doing a summary of comments on our minutes. And I was wondering if we could add that so that it's part of the policy.
Okay, yep, noted.
And then, sorry, I just have like 2 or 3 more little things. Policy number 0164.5. And it's on page 13. We checked off option 2, which says the total number of meetings in a calendar year that may be conducted with members participating by electronic means of communication is limited to 3. And I'm just concerned that with all the meetings we have, with work sessions, special meetings, regular meetings, with the, building updates and such, that as a whole board, if we're only allowed to, like Chris today is 1, that means we could only have 2 more times of allowing board members to participate. If rather than picking that option, if we could just delete it, or if we need to pick a new number.
Yeah, one comment. So yes, that's the recommendation from Neola, and then you'll notice the last part of that says unless it's otherwise approved by the board. And one reason why Neola recommends that, and I would support this recommendation, is that you don't want someone to just be virtual every meeting. Now, again, if there's a reason, the law allows if there's special circumstances due to health and things of that nature. But that's why they put that number on there. But I think if the board chooses to get rid of it and leave that as an option, or to increase the number from 3, I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Is it 3 for each person or 3 total as a board? I wasn't sure when I read it. It almost sounds like it's 3 total for the whole board rather than each individual.
Yeah, as I read that too, I think it might be for the whole board. Yeah, as opposed to just counting.
Mr. Roundtree has a comment.
One thing I was going to ask, actually, Ms. Bright just brought it up. My question was, is it 3 per person or 3 for the entire board? I thought that this whole policy came into effect because of, it used to be 0, but because of the pandemic, it was changed. Can we just make it, I mean, me personally, I don't want to have, every board meeting, somebody have the option of being virtually, because it's hard. And I'd love to be there tonight, but I also know that I couldn't be there tonight. I mean, it would be grossly negligent of me to do so. But if it's 3 per board, and we've used one of those instances now, what happens the next time somebody tests positive or has an illness where they can't be there? Well, I am concerned about that.
Yes, and like I said, I think you guys could do whatever you choose here, and I think by changing it now and either not putting a number or making it more would prevent you then from having to make the exception anytime it happens. Again, I don't think you can go wrong either way. However, the board chooses to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look at it as a standpoint of, if you can't be here before technology, you just weren't here, right? As long as you have 3, you have a quorum, you can move forward. I don't want to strike it from our documents here, but if we need to change the number, I think we can do that, but that's just my opinion.
I think we just leave it as the board determines necessary. I feel like if needed, there's appropriate steps in place. If you felt like you had a board member in the future who just was, negligent and not attending and not showing up and not there, there's steps to remove that board member. I mean, I think we all agree that anytime we've done it this year, it's been necessary. And I think kind of just self-governing, it's fine as a board.
I like to see it stay as is, because you can always work around it. I missed a meeting that I was in a hospital, couldn't do neither. So
Right.
I think the policy still gives you some flexibility there.
Did you have another policy you wanted to review? Or do you have another item?
Well, no, I was still just thinking on this. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
'Cause the verbiage is in there, right, Chad, that you said that,
Yeah, we have the option to.
yeah.
So it
you
has
could-
option 1 and option 2, and we don't have to check the box off on option 2.
Correct.
And my suggestion is that we don't, because I don't feel like as a board that we are misusing it. This is only something that Neola puts out there. Like, you may want to do this, you may not. I feel like as a board, we're doing pretty well with none of us prefer that. It's not fun to be virtual. So I just don't feel like we need it, to be quite honest. I don't feel like we need that option 2. I feel like we do need option 1, of course, but not option 2, which requires that we stay within a certain number.
I mean, how would we go about changing that tonight? Make a motion to strike that part?
Yeah, you could strike option 2.
Okay, I'll make the motion to strike option 2 and leave it as we kind of determine, or the board would determine, whoever's in place on the board would determine if we needed to say we weren't going to do those at a certain number.
Could the language read just as needed?
Yeah.
That sounds perfect.
And I think it does. Other places within this document.
So what-
And it only allows you to have 2 people virtual at a time anyway.
Right, because you had to have 3 here present anyway. So
Yeah, and there has been times before where we have had to have everyone virtual.
Yeah, and there's another policy for
I
that.
mean, I think Joe's suggestion is as needed is perfect, and we move on from that.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck on if it's as needed, I don't know that we need option 2 then.
Yeah, I
think
don't think we
can
do.
just get rid of option 2 and then by default, it's as needed.
Yeah.
So Chrissy did make the motion to strike that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Basham seconds. Have another policy.
Yeah, so last question I have was about the latchkey program, policy 2262. And I didn't write down the page number on the PDF that it's on. But I noticed that we're not including pre-K in that any longer, and I was just wondering if there was a reason. Now it's just K through 6 rather than pre-K through 6, and since we do offer pre-K at our primary school, I'm just kind of wondering why it's being taken off the latchkey policy.
Yeah, there was no deliberate intention to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just assumed it was our current practice that was here.
I do think that our pre-K program operates kind of in half days, correct? So I don't know if most of the families participating in that utilize, would maybe be the second part of the day that maybe the program would utilize that, I guess, but I think they operate kind of on a half-day schedule.
Well, and the latchkey is for before school and after school.
Yeah, Ms. Campbell, can you, I don't know if, can students participate in latchkey half day?
It's half.
So our preschool programs come in later than our typical students, and they leave at different times, as well as in the afternoon. Their dismissal is actually after our dismissal. So the timing of the programs runs very differently. I don't know. I think it would be worth asking. I know the current program, which is Stay and Play, that has the contract for the latchkey policy, may be the people to ask about that, because I think that depends on the age group of child that they can service. But currently the latchkey program for K through 6 is done based off of the K through 6 building hours. So it's not that pre-K students are excluded per se, it's just that those hours of service don't really match. For example, if the latchkey program is over at 7:50 each morning and preschool doesn't begin till 8:30, there isn't a 7:50 to 8:30 option because the preschool times don't match up.
What about after school though? Because latchkey lasts till 6, correct?
Again, I think that's a stay and play question because they have the contract. Our preschool programs run until either 3:30 or 3:45, depending on bus transportation. So I don't know that any child's ever been excluded from that.
Have you ever had even a parent come forward requesting those services from pre-K?
No.
I think it's a matter of whether it's conducive or not, but
It's just such a small number, like population of our pre-K friends. I can't imagine if approached, Stay and Play would say no. But again, I think we have to ask them based off of what they're licensing for being able and their staffing for ages. Because for 4 and 5-year-olds, that's a very different license for daycare than it is, moving from a 5-year-old up through 10, 11.
Yeah, I think, so my question was, it looked like everything before did include pre-K. And the policy that we had before us tonight with changes excludes it. So I wanted to make sure we weren't changing our policy to exclude pre-K. Since the contract with Stay and Play said pre-K, our prior policy said pre-K, but the new policy that we're approving tonight says K.
It's
But
not my understanding that anything has changed in regards to our policy with Stay and Play. That's all I can speak
yeah,
to in
and
regards.
they're not listed on there either, so that's,
I think it'd be something that we would need further discussion, because I think one of the topics of discussion would be with who we're contracted, which is Stay and Play, whether or not they think they could facilitate the care needed by some of our pre-K friends. And so I think that would be something we might need to further discuss.
Well, our contract with them states pre-K. Like I pulled up, because we signed off on our contract with them recently, and it states that I feel like maybe
Yeah.
there's a loss in communication.
Yeah, and I'm not sure on that. I'd have to look, but yeah, I would think if our current contract would stay in place as they allow pre-K, then I think our policy would want to reflect that as well. That way. it
I would
does-
think our policy would need to reflect what we would want, and then our contract with them would need to reflect what our policy is.
Yeah, so
But we've already signed a contract with them.
Yeah, so it's,
Well, going forward, we would need to establish the precedent, I think, and then the contract follow suit. But maybe if we had a family that was interested or came forward, then we would jump that hurdle when it came. But for policy speaking, if we need clarification, we could obviously make a motion to amend that to include pre-K for now, with addressing it as on an as needed basis.
we could do that. I could bring it back to you.
yeah, you want to do some research on it and just verify with stay in play, because we need to verify with their last program, with the last program too. So, is that okay with Ms. Or Ms. Bright?
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other policies you?
I
would-
almost wondered if it was just a typo.
Yeah,
Because I didn't know, since we'd always included it, if
Right.
if it
Yeah,
were really
I'm
meant
not
to
sure.
put K or not, so. That's it.
So on the policies then, we would have the second reading and approval of all policies except for letter I, 2262. And I will bring that back at a future board meeting for consideration.
I have one question, in addition to that, with regards to, technology. On the bids that are going out, I know that we approved those in the previous meeting, that we, there's a request made to put, any type of obsolete equipment from the school district out for bid. My question is how are we notifying anyone when those bids are being taken? So that everyone has a fair opportunity to that, that property. And it's not just on this, these items or these phones, but before, I know we've gotten rid of a trailer and monitors and things, and, so I was just curious, other than somebody in the public stating or listening that there is going to be a bid and a request to bid, take bids for those, that equipment, how are we then notifying and putting that out for everybody to be able to come and bid on it?
I know typically in the past, we've put it on the News and Tribune, if that my understanding is correct. It's typically what
You
we-
have to, yeah. So
Yes.
you have to notify the public twice
Correct.
in the News and Tribune. And it states exactly what's being auctioned off, when the bids are due, and when the bids will be opened. And then when we do that, we follow the process of opening those bids and documenting.
So it gives a date, a time, where to be. Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
I think maybe with, maybe someone we could look at maybe in the past, or maybe just not in the News and Tribune, because not everybody always goes
think
there.
It
Maybe
seems to
something
be
we
the
could-
obsolete way of finding information now.
Yeah, I mean, I
Well,
think
my
it's
thing is
tough for the
obsolete. I mean,
public
it's still, they have their
to,
own, pages, but a lot of times you can't find it, directly. So maybe something we can send out.
Yeah, no, I
Propose something
think that's a good idea. And I
can
don't
we
know.
post
do
it to the corporation
post
website?
it to our website? We could put it on the corporation Facebook
Yeah,
page.
put on well, you can put on the, I think you can put on the corporation page, you put a bid tab on there. And just say,
Yeah, I think it's a good
upcoming.
idea just so it shows transparency and gives everybody a fair opportunity. And I think that, like me, I don't read the newspapers anymore. It's all social kind of media pages that, read it kind of like that. And I don't think anybody actually ever really finds those. So I'd like to just see it more opened up a little bit on anything that we're putting to bid.
Sure. Yep.
Yep, got it.
Cool. All right. With that being said, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Have some seconds. Mr. Roundtree, how do you vote, sir?
Yay.
Ms. Franklin?
Yay.
Mr. Basham?
Yes.
Ms. Bright?
Yes.
And I'm also yes, that's 5-0. All right, moving on to discussions items, request to approve interim Parks Board member. Tonight we do have Charlie Smith here. The school board has the autonomy to appoint someone to the Parks Board. They had initially had the gentleman resign. The current position is an interim position for, I believe, roughly 11 months. So come 2023, we are going to have to appoint someone else. We do have a recommendation from Mr. Smith. If he would like to come to the table, we'd like to ask and kind of give us a little rundown of what this board position is. and go from there.
Good evening, board members. Charlie Smith, Town of Sellersburg. I am the town manager. I'm also the park superintendent appointed by the Parks Board. Our Parks Board, let me pull up the statute here. Our Parks Board was established under Indiana statute, I think it's 36-10-3-4. And under subsection C, there's 4 members appointed by the town council and 1 member appointed by the school board or the managing entity of the school corporation, you all, or the library board. I think historically they've used the school board for that 5th appointment in there. I have Amy Campbell here with me. Amy is currently, but unfortunately soon to be, our former pool manager. Amy has been with the town here for a couple of years and has managed our pool facility and events there at the pool. Obviously with the previous member resigning, Amy, obviously it takes a lot to be the pool manager during the summer. I mean, she's there a lot, so we're going to be posting that position here shortly. But with that, with her resigning as the pool manager, now having a vacancy on the Parks Board, it'd be advantageous for the Parks Board, myself, to obviously to have her still engaged from that level as we transition into a new parks and pool manager there. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
And to clarify, this is an interim position to
Correct.
fill
It is
the
filling out
remainder of this year.
Correct. It's filling out an existing term,
Okay.
which according to our records expires at the end of this year. So coming back around January of next year, or even prior to that, y'all can do it in December or whenever, you all would need to consider either reappointing Amy or appointing a new position or a new individual for that position on the Parks Board.
And just to let the board know, we did do some research and we were not able to find it when the original person was put in. So we want to make sure that we are doing this, our due diligence here as well. Again, I would like to look into us appointing the recommendation from Mr. Smith. And then come this fall, we actually, at that point, post it in the paper, look for doing interviews, do the due diligence there and make sure it's all in our records.
I have a
Appreciate it.
couple questions for you.
Yes.
So I assume that someone's resigned from this, right?
Correct.
How long did they serve on the board?
They came on, I think, in 19. And I think
2019?
they were filling out a vacancy as well.
So a previous school board appointed that individual?
Correct.
Okay.
We
And
can't-
is there any,
We can't say that it was appointed because we were not able to find any documentation in our previous.
So there was
And
a,
that's previous minutes from West Clark School Corporation.
Right,
from
not
Silver Creek
Silver
School
Correct.
Corporation.
but that position itself was appointed from a previous school board?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So once a person is appointed, how long does that term serve?
I think it rolls a 4-year rolling term, so they're staggered, and I don't have that. I don't have what our current list is, who's coming off and when, but it's typically a 4-year staggered rotation.
Does the school board only appoint someone if a person resigns, or is this a normally voted in, like a normal position that's voted on?
So when that term expires, you
Yeah.
all would need to then reappoint.
Okay.
So again, in this situation, that person has resigned, they're moving, relocating, I think, to Illinois, and took a job.
Okay.
So again, this would not be a 4-year appointment. They're filling out the remainder of that term until it expires.
And that's why I said come October, we need to go ahead and do our due diligence again and start setting and preparing that position.
How many people are on the board?
5. Now let's add some, to give you some context. So the town of Sellersburg, we have 2 parks. We have the pool facility over there next to the high school. And then we have Wilkerson Park, which is downtown, right at the corner of Utica and New Albany Street, which is basically a memorial park. So from a scope standpoint, Township Park is not our park. It's township situation. Speed Park, again, not our park. So, realistically, we have a pool. We don't have a playground. We have a basketball court. So, I mean, those are things we're working through, which, again, Amy's been involved with. We've applied for a grant through the National Park Service and the Indiana Department of Natural Resources called the Land and Water Conservation Grant, which we've recently been awarded. So we're moving forward with an improvement project at Mosley Park that's going to improve ADA accessibility, redoing the basketball court. The plan is to put a playground in. It's, with that, I think that's going to be a second phase and a separate application. But we're also adding a splash pad within that. So
great.
there's going to be some improvements with it. I think in total it's about $760,000 we're looking at doing
great.
tentatively this fall. is when we
Who
plan on starting.
appointed the other position, the park board members? Those were all appointed by a school board at one point?
At one point, at the previous school board, at some point has appointed
Every single one of these?
this individual, the
No,
ones,
this is one.
the ones.
We only get one.
You only get one. So the town council appoints the
Oh,
other four.
okay, so the other four and then the ones appointed by the school board. Okay.
Joe, do you have any questions?
No.
Ms. Bright? Chris, do you have any questions?
I don't necessarily have a question as much as just a statement. I believe I've said this before. Mr. Smith's come to us with a recommendation of someone that's been involved in the Parks Department to fill out the term. My personal belief is that we honor the recommendation just like he requested. That way, I'm assuming he wants Ms. Campbell to be involved in the planning of opening the pool and probably the hiring process of a new pool manager, and allow them to go ahead and start the work to do so, and then give Dr. Briggs the opportunity to come up with a formal policy, since this is all new to us, come up with a formal policy of how we hire this or appoint this person in the future. This person then could go through an application process and interview process for the 4-year term, which I think we'd probably start that in October, and then identify and appoint that person in December to assume the term January of 2023. That's my recommendation on how to proceed.
With no further questions, does anyone like have an approval to?
I think I'd like to make some few comments.
Sure, shoot.
I appreciate Chris's recommendation. I mean, my thoughts on this are a little torn. I mean, I want to be able to see you move forward. Okay. However, I really believe in due process. And when you have a 5-member board and one person resigns, in reality, you're making a recommendation to bring somebody on that could sway the vote one way or the other. And if you're making important decisions before now until the end of the year, that person's going to have a big influence or decision-making role in any decisions that you guys make, especially if you're investing, a significant amount of money in how that money would possibly be used or influenced. And so, I'm all in favor of getting to this very quickly. I would like to see it opened up. We could post this tomorrow and have this voted on at our next meeting. But I think that to make it fair, we need to be able to open it up, and any candidate that would want to come and possibly fill that seat. The same way when we had a resignation from this school board, it would have been unfair if somebody said, well, we're just going to recommend this person, and that person take that place. And so I think that where I stand on it is I'd like to see a quick turnaround, because I want to help the town, and I want to see it be done right and done fair. And that person that's going to sit on there for the next 6 to 8 months make decisions that are very important. And we're talking about almost a whole year before we would see an election process. And so I'm in favor of turning this around within a couple weeks or 30 days, but I would like to see the process opened up and see what we can do to make it available to anybody that would like to come forward and put their application in.
So to clarify on some of those things. So obviously, our budget operates much like yours. So our budget's already been set and everything for the year. Same thing with the project. Okay. So as far as the decisions to be made, those have already been decided upon at this point. Again.
So the park board would not be voting on anything or doing anything for the rest of the year?
Not unless it's comes up with, we have an Eagle Scout project or something that needs to be decided on. For example, we've got one going right now where they're putting in concrete pads at Wilkerson Park for the picnic tables. That was obviously decided at the last board meeting. With this, it's you know, and to clarify, you know, Amy's not, she is my recommendation, I guess, as superintendent, park superintendent, just as, from a transitioning point from a pool manager situation, have someone still there with the health department and some of the other stuff that goes involved to open a public pool. She's also, she has a full support, a vote of the Parks Board as well as the town council as well. So it's not just me arbitrarily
Right.
coming to recommend. I want to
don't think that
clarify
there's
that.
anything, you know, unethical or going on or anything like that. I just think that we stand kind of behind that. With every decision that we make for transparency and fairness. And I think that if we take individual circumstances and make, you know, exceptions to that versus just going through a quick due process, because it's new to us. And I think that that's where I kind of stand on it. I mean, I'm all for turning it around very quickly, posting it to our school board, school or district website that we're going to be taking applications for this. Anybody that's interested, come forward. And us getting the information and making a decision on what we feel is best kind of going forward.
I mean, is there any, you said the budgets and everything have been decided upon. So if we took this time to actually kind of do a due process, it's not going to hamper what you all are doing, correct?
No, I mean, if anything, it may slow down the transition from a pool manager at this point. But outside of the purchasing, or again, it's, you know, we have two very small facilities. And I think the total budget's $300,000 annually. So I mean, we're not, and a majority of that's used from an expense to operate the pool. So again, it's not a, you know, this isn't a, while it is an important role, obviously, you know, I want to add the scope of what this role and our board does. Again, we don't have 20 parks and hundreds of acres of facilities to manage. So
I didn't realize.
I can understand where
I didn't realize the interim position was going to be a year long. I thought it would be shorter.
I mean, we could post it tomorrow.
What are you gonna post? We don't have anything, we don't have
I mean, the
we don't have
position that
anything, we have nothing created. Dr. Briggs would have to create that position, that application, the process, then we'll have to interview, then we'll have to actually vote on it, then ask for appointment. I mean, it's not gonna be, I don't think as quick as you think. I mean, my opinion is we're taking a recommendation from the super himself to help get him started, which if you're planning for a pool now and planning for the parks, you need to start planning now. And I think we're talking 11 months. And as he mentioned, we're not talking thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, multiple parks. We're talking 2 parks. We're taking a recommendation as if Dr. Briggs or Mr. Ballmer gave us a recommendation. We're going to approve that for that period of time. I think we give him the respect as well, but that's just my opinion.
And however you all decide, I'll be glad to assist. And, you know, if you all wish or vote to go that direction and need to help draft whatever, I mean, I'll help. I mean, I'm here to help however you need. So again, I mean, it'll be based out of state statute. It's pretty cut and dry on what this.
I mean, I'm not asking for a long, lengthy interview process or anything like that. I just would like that anyone that comes forth that sees it posted, possibly shows their interest to you, you can make that, you know, we can look at everybody there and then kind of go further based upon your recommendation at that point.
Yeah, because I would say it to me, it's a little bit different than the scenario you gave because we're talking about a board. And I know when we came on as interim, we had to go through that same process. We had to do an application. We were interviewed and such.
You even participated, Scott, in the process that went through with the Board of Trustees when he had to make a decision.
I know wholeheartedly.
You know, and I
yes.
mean, if that would have been a situation where somebody would have just been appointed versus you given the opportunity to apply as well, I mean, I think I think it just gets us into a situation where it's almost political and, you know, versus just we look at everything and kind of make the best decision at that point.
From my standpoint, I realize it's not a huge budget you're dealing with, but it's more principle and just setting that standard that this board wants to do things correctly and transparently. So I would feel better with doing an application process and such. And if you can help with that, if you have one or something, you know, to speed up the process, I would feel much better about it, especially since it is a lengthy interim position.
I would worry about this dragging out because we know we've got so much going on with our building project that I think we can look at it and go through that process next fall. But I think to help the town out and as far as our time, as much we've got committed on other projects, I'd like to see us follow the recommendation.
And I agree. I mean, this is why it's being discussed, is to make sure they do the process. Because if we go back to West Clark, it wasn't there. If we go back to the minutes of 2019, they weren't there. That's why we're doing what we're doing, is to making sure we're talking about it and doing it. I can't guarantee how fast or how long that will take Dr. Briggs and all that to happen. Make sure we put it out there. So
How quick do you think you could turn it around, Dr. Briggs?
I can do whatever the board desires.
Chris, you have any comments?
No, I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Basham seconds. Mr. Roundtree, how you vote?
Yay.
This is to approve Amy Campbell as the park board member from Silver Creek School Corp. And
Nay.
Chrissy Franklin is a nay. Mr. Basham,
Aye.
Ms. Bright,
No.
and I'm a yes. It passes 3-2. This time we're going to comments, reports, and announcements for the board members.
I just want to take the time out to thank our office staff, secretaries, clerical. I know they've worked really hard in the last couple weeks to fill the positions of getting our substitutes called in. Sometimes that role is just often overlooked, and I just want to make sure that they know they're appreciated. Going down a sub list and, trying to reach out to 30 people to get, 7 to 10 people to come in. I mean, that's a tough job, and it's along with their other responsibilities. So thank you for all your hard work. It's an important role in helping us keep our doors open.
Just real quickly, kind of just make a quick comment on the white elephant in the room, which is my last name. I know I don't have to offer an explanation, but we're a small town, so I'm sure you'll wonder. I have taken back my maiden name, which is why it's Bright. My son changed his last name to Bright, so obviously I changed mine back to Bright. And so going forward, Miss Bright.
Congratulations on that, Mr. Basham.
Thanks.
Good.
And I too just want to, make note that our teachers, administrators, substitutes, we truly appreciate our parents. Thank you for being very thoughtful as well. I know it's tough. Mental health right now is a hard thing, and I know not everybody loves e-learning. I too, I learn as well. I learned so much in 6th grade. I learned a lot about my 4th grade. And luckily enough, I have a 2-year-old. They keeps me on my toes the entire time. So, we get it. The board here gets it. But I just want to make sure that we appreciate you and thank you for being patient with us as well. Administrators and directors. Mr. Roundtree.
I'm good. Thanks, Alex, for accommodating me tonight, and appreciate everything that everyone's doing during this difficult time.
Okay. Moving forward, tonight we do have some administrators and directors here. Ms. Campbell.
Good evening. I'm Abby Campbell, the principal at Silver Creek Primary School. Sorry, Alex, am I too close to the microphone? Okay, just making sure. Silver Creek Primary would like to recognize the following students for receiving the letter I award for Pride. I stands for initiative. So these students are being recognized for initiating assignments independently, working intentionally to follow expectations, helping others when needed, and consistently following directions at school each day, which for our kindergarten and first graders is a big deal. So we are very proud of the following students. Our kindergarten students are Romy McCourt, Izzy Hawkins, Roman Mildner, Anna Huerta, Naomi Johnson, Hunter Campbell, Presley Duke, Parks Love, Graham McDonald, and Bree Boldak. So congratulations to those kindergarten students. And our first grade students are Vincent Steele, Kelton Griner, Calvin Goldenshoe, Kinley Flippin, Piper Bailey, Noah Bechtel, Aubrey Figuera, Charlie Grace Morgan, Chase Maiden, Weston Robeloff, and Leslie Monk. So a huge shout out to all of those friends. While we're talking about initiative, I also wanted to take a second to celebrate the members of the SCP staff that are taking the initiative by going back and participating in ongoing coursework. That's a big deal, and it's a lot to manage, being a teacher on top of that. So I want to celebrate these lifelong learners: Heather Smith, Dawn Hall, Amanda Byerly, Kelsey Johnson, and Katie Dries. And of course, we have many staff members who have already accomplished their masters in +30s, but these friends are initiating that right now.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much.
Alex, it looks like we lost Chris
We haven't lost him. He's still with us.
in spirit.
Until we kind of work on that one there. Silver Creek Elementary, Miss Myers.
Hello, I'm Sandy Myers, principal at Silver Creek Elementary School. I am coming. I'm also going to recognize some of our students for our Pride Award. Pride is something that we focus on throughout the school year. It's the characteristic traits that we try to instill in our kids. And I always tell the kids, you know, these 5 character traits, we believe that if you develop these 5 character traits to the best of your ability, you're going to be a productive citizen when you graduate high school. So, and that's our goal. So this month, I'm going to recognize our respectfulness students, and that is Adeline Prather, Benson Snyder, Kaylin Draper, Julian Leland, Elude Gomez, Avery Von Alman, Bella Garcia, Henry Garton, Patrick Balmer, Stella Zender, Lydia Johnson, Jackson Arndt, Paisley Morris, Ada Thompson, Kellen Vormbrock, Elizabeth Selfridge, Chloe Morrison, London Vogler, Jalen Pittman, Avery Wheatley, Caitlin Gibson, Hunter Tuma, Harper Rosen, Julia Arono, Piper Riggs, Cecilia Gore, Layla Whitsett, Hudson Couch, Mackenzie Johnson, and Hudson Noah. So we're really proud of them and their respectfulness that they've shown in the classroom and around the building. We also have some, I'd like to take a moment to thank our Silver Creek Dragons Foundation and our Dragon Pals program. I currently have 94 students, I believe, enrolled in our Dragon Pals program. I have 11 classroom teachers and 10 support staff that are working after school an hour a day on 3 different days, so 3 hours a week, to help close some gaps that we all have endured over this pandemic and working through that. So I want to give a shout out to our Dragon Pals program and our staff and all the hard work that they're doing with that. Also, to the Dragon Pals program have offered some things for our staff that are taking advantage of that I'm really excited about. Just wanted to share with you. One is GimKit, was something recently given to all of our staff that is an online learning, and it is formative assessments, and the kids are playing games. They love it. It's given teachers immediate feedback. And that's something that all teachers were offered through the Dragon Pals program, and so we really appreciate that. And also, we're really excited to welcome Graham Fletcher next year. He is a math guru, and I've got some teachers that are really excited to learn from him. So we are super stoked, and just thank you for providing that for our staff. I really appreciate that, Ms. Bright. And then finally, I wanted to take a moment and tell you about an upcoming event that we will have next week that we're really excited about. Silver Creek Elementary is joining a global initiative on 2/2/22, and we are going to have a global school play day. So that's something that we've started talking about at school, and classrooms are planning this. It's really a grassroots effort, and it's spanning the whole continent. You sign them up, or the whole globe, the whole world, sorry. Our kids, the only real rule is not electronic. So it is trying to get kids to use their imagination, to collaborate, to play. And it's that unstructured time that kids really learn while they're playing, learn how to cooperate and get along. And so we're really excited to join that effort at Silver Creek Elementary. We're also going to pair that with some fun, because we like to have fun, which we all need right now, right? A tutu day or a twinning day. So, you know, if anybody wants to come out in their tutu or their twinning outfit, we'd love to have you. So, Mr. Balmer, I think it'd be a nice look for you.
Kids win in the tutu.
There you go. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the feedback. And for the middle school, Ms. Nunn?
All right, I'm new to this, so bear with me. I'm learning as I go with the different announcements. I've chosen to talk about our basketball teams. Our 7th grade boys just won the Mid-Southern Conference tournament. Being able to watch them grow from the very beginning of the season to now, I'm so appreciative of our coaches. When Ms. Myers talks about pride, we really do have a lot of those pride elements when we do play sports, and those characters traits come out in winning or in defeat. So I'm very proud of our 7th grade boys. The team members are Lucas Linderman, Mason Chanley, Brandon Hunter, Jameson Colwell, Brecken By, Cameron Robinson, Brady Anderson, Brody Burton, Gage Curley, Braxton Burton, Brody McLaughlin, Luke Ott, Donovan Whitehead, and Austin Franklin as a manager. And those students won the Mid-Southern Boys Basketball Tournament. Our 8th grade girls also won the Mid-Southern Tournament. Those members are Emma Schoen, Maddie Rhodes, Reagan Cook, Keegan Caudell, Ella Blue, Caitlin Whitlock, Brooklyn Wren, and Jocelyn Chesser. And again, I'm very proud of the hard work that they've put in. I'm also thankful for the coaches for being excellent role models in hard work and good communication and teaching on the court as well as off the court. I also want to recognize our cheerleaders who have been at every game. They interact with our crowds, they interact with our teams. They're a positive role model. And again, the coaches and the cheer team, and I'll introduce them at a different time. But I'm very proud of everything that they've accomplished. And if you haven't had a chance to come out and see the incredible feats that our cheer team can do, it is amazing. Lastly, with the teams, I'd like to recognize the parents. Not only do they take their kids to and from games, they pick them up from practices. They're there to, lift them up when they've done well and to help them and support them in times that the games don't always go their way. So I'm super proud of our winter athletes. Wrestling is just getting started, and we're starting to see some meets happening there as well. Again, I do want to appreciate this, or tell the central office how thankful I am. I had central office staff willing to come over and sub for me at a moment's notice if we knew we needed help, and I'm so appreciative of that. Again, my staff, we're going and teaching anytime, anywhere. The office staff, again, just sometimes directing everybody where to go was a major feat each period, so that everybody was covered and the kids helped out as well. So I'll talk a little bit more about the initiatives that we do as we go along, but I did want to recognize our sports teams and all of the character traits that happen on the sports court every night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations to the teams. From the high school, Mr. Eckert, or I should say Dr. Eckert.
Good evening. Got a few things to talk about this evening. Today, about half our teachers met with the architects from CSO to review some of the plans, and the plans were very well received by our staff, and it was some very good conversation about things that they may need and suggestions that they had. CSO also brought a consultant for the theater project, and it was great to have their expertise as they explained our theater arts, auditorium, and music and band spaces for the students. So it was a very productive day from about 9 o'clock to 3:30 this afternoon. Next, we had a senior, Amanda Massengale. She performed in Indianapolis this past weekend as part of the Indiana All-State Choir. This is a huge honor, and I believe it is a first for Silver Creek High School to have someone participate on that choir. Amanda was also selected to perform as a soloist, so congratulations to Amanda and our choir teacher, Miss Jacqueline Colwell. Next Wednesday, our girls basketball team will be playing in the sectional at North Harrison. They will play Scottsburg in the second game. The girls basketball team recently completed an undefeated season in the Mid-Southern Conference. Their record's currently 19-1. And that basketball sectional was very competitive with many very good teams. So I think they'll need our support, and I would encourage everyone to go to North Harrison to back our girls. Also, our cheerleaders and cheerleading coaches hosted an annual confetti ball cheerleading competition over the weekend. And that was a very successful event and attended by many teams of all ages. We had some real little ones and all the way up to seniors in high school. So it was a very good event. I'd like to thank Coach Jennifer Kaufman for putting that on and her coaching staff for their efforts there. Lastly, I would like to introduce you to our new Dean of Students, Hannah Oliver, who's here tonight with her family. Hannah Oliver comes from Madison High School. She's a dual credit communications teacher and also in the English Language Arts Department. She's also been a visiting professor at Hanover College and is a professor at Ivy Tech as well. So I'd like to welcome Hannah Oliver and let's give her a hand, and maybe she might say a few words tonight. Welcome to working.
That pen doesn't work.
I don't think it's fun.
I don't think it's yours. All right, so I just wanted to come down this evening to introduce myself to everyone. I'm super excited to be here. I'm excited to join your team. Looking forward to learning from Dr. Eckert and from Mr. Losi. You guys have a great thing going here, and I'm looking forward to just continuing to contribute to that. So I bring with me my family, who's really excited to be here as well. So I have Hadley, who's in 3rd grade, Brody, who's in 7th grade, and Caden, who is a junior. So we are thrilled to be here. Feels like a blessing to be here. So thank you guys. I look forward to getting to know you all and working with you more in the future. Thank you.
Congratulations. Welcome. Thank you, Dr. Eckert, and welcome. And now we have superintendent comments.
Just one comment. I want to thank Michael Pierce from Save a Step Food Mart for his donation to Silver Creek High School Athletic Department. There is a spirit gas pump there at Save a Step. So every time you use that gas pump, he'll donate a portion of the sales to the athletic department. So I'd encourage everyone to stop and fill up their tanks there at Save a Step and use the spirit pump. That's it for me. Thanks.
All right, with that, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
This time, Miss Bright, make the motion.
Yeah.
Mr. Basham seconds. And Mr. Roundtree? He said aye, I read his lips. Ms. Franklin?
Aye.
Mr. Basham?
Aye.
Ms. Bright?
Aye.
I am an aye, it's 5-0. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Sorry about that, Chris. I know it's been all thing. Last time you guys.